Greetings and salutations. We're back with some more one talent challenge in hardcore, playing the paladin. And if you're new to the series and you don't know what a one talent challenge is, you get your skill tree, which I call them talents. Per difficulty, I'm only allowed to put into one talent of my choice, but I can put 20 points into that one talent. After I beat normal, I can go into nightmare and I put 1 point into a talent of my choice, and I can only put 20 points into that talent. I cannot diversify it anywhere further outward, and this is all I can get. As I have 8 skill choices remaining, I can't put them into anything because those are the rules I'm living by. In Nightmare, I am going to be putting into Smite. But until we're there, I'm stuck with Thorns. Now, if I'm granted a skill by, say, a piece of gear, say a helmet gives me plus whatever to Holy Might, I can use it. Or Sacrifice. I'm allowed to use those. Everything is self-found. I am not allowed to trade. I'm not allowed to do anything. I just have to find what I find and proceed through the game. And I've already thought of a topic today. Normally, when I play these one-talent challenges, I kind of wax philosophically. I go off on a philosophical jaunt. Today, it's kind of gaming-related. And it's kind of related in two ways. And the first is, if you've seen the game of, as I call it, Avoid, it's called Avowed, it looks like, Temu brand Skyrim. Alright? I mean, I've seen it. And to me, it comes across as Temu brand Skyrim. 100%. And it's... I don't know. I don't want to call it pathetic, but from what I've seen of the game, there's nothing there, right? I've seen the combat, I've seen how the game plays, I've seen everything about it, and it just feels weak. Like, very weak. Like, almost like the developers didn't try or care, and they were just like, okay, clip it and ship it, folks. We need to make some money, and these people are going to buy anything that has Activision's name on it. Trust me. It's almost like they had a board meeting and they were like, it's got an Activision name on it, they'll buy it. Just like they've been buying everything else. They've been waiting for a new Skyrim, and this is it, right? Well, it's not. It's like Temu brand Skyrim. Really, it is. And as such, it's kind of suffering in the sales department. If the people play it on Game Pass, okay, that's great. It raises your player metrics, but it doesn't do anything for your overall sales. Just going into the politics, leaving the politics completely out of it, right? So, like, even if you don't go into the politics of the game, and you leave it completely out of it, it's just a disaster from the ground up. Realistically, it's just a disaster completely. And normally I would say something along the lines of, I hate to see it, but at the same time, I don't. And the reason I don't is because you have to make a game that people are going to want to play, right? If you're gonna make a game, knock it out of the park. Don't half-heartedly go into it and think, oh well, I've invested this much time into the game, so we're good. No, go whole hog into a game. Really, make a good game, get it out there, and get the people to be excited about it, without using your typical accoutrements that most people use. They will have the press run blocker for them saying, oh, this is going to be a heroic epic. They'll have puff pieces written about them. It's like, get out there and showcase what you're making. Right? That's really all you have to do with a game, is you have to make a game and showcase the game. Look at what Path of Exile did, right? Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2. Both games basically were like, here's the game. Look at the benefits and detriments of the game. Weigh the game. You weigh the game for its skill, for its weight. You know what I mean? The whole adage from like A Knight's Tale, you have been weighed, you have been measured. That thing. Same thing for games. They have been weighed, they have been measured, they have been found wanting. Okay? And it's like, video game developers. There's a reason why you're losing to the indie scene. Independent developers don't have quotas to meet. Independent developers don't have a board of CEOs and COOs and a board of executives to mollycoddle. Independent developers don't have a gaggle of shareholders to appease. What they have is they have a fan base that says this is the way games should be made, and then the developer either looks at them and says, yes, we too have played games all the way through our lives, and we agree, or no, we're taking our game in a new direction. But in 9 times out of 10, they listen to the customers, what brought them in, the success in the first place. AAA developers have seemed to have forgotten that. They look at the customers and they go, it's great that you've supported us all this time, but we've decided to go in a new direction. Well, when that happens, what's the end result? They start appeasing the shareholders. They start appeasing a whole bunch of corporate fat cats that sit there in a chair harumphing over one another, going, well, I don't like that suggestion, harumph. Like that scene from Blazing Saddles. And then Governor William Lepedemain looks over and he goes, I didn't get a harumph out of that guy. And he says, give the man his harumph. Same thing. And that's what AAA developers are pretty much doing these days. They're acting like that scene from Blazing Saddles. Okay? Now the other thing that I want to talk about, and I may kind of touch back on the, creation aspect of games and double back around on it. And people, of course, there's going to be people out there, they're going to be like, well, what do you know about game creation? I made a very simplistic game myself. I made it, and I reached the goals that I wanted it to reach. I wanted to create a game, put it on Steam, and I had exactly what I invested into it. Aside from time, I had my monetary amount invested into it. And I made that much back. It wasn't a ripping success, but I made a small profit, maybe like $10. Whatever. But I made a game. So I know what it's like. Of course, making a game with no fan base, having absolutely zero PR, because I didn't have any way to create PR or drum up any, excitement for the game. I just kind of winging a prayer. Took me months to throw together because I learned everything by myself. I did all the debugging myself, etc. I used RPG Maker, so that did a lot of the heavy lifting when it came to coding, but at the same time I still created the game. I still had the idea, I still ran with it. It was still, my game, my concept from the ground up. But the other thing that I've noticed about games lately is you have, and I'm going to say this and it's going to cause a lot of people to look at me and be like, yo, wait a minute. Esports has ruined video games. And the reason why esports has ruined video games is quite simple. Everyone relishes themselves to be a professional, instead of playing the game for enjoyment and enjoying the experience as it is, win or loss, like you see with me in Call of Duty. Yeah, we lose. Do you see me, constantly telling people on the microphone that we lost because they're dumpster? No. I'll make a comment like, oh, you're not that good, kid, even though they beat us. But I'll say that to the screen. You know, but I'm not going around raging and expecting the best out of everyone. Could people play better? Sure. Somebody might be having an off day. You never can tell. Ooh, unique longsword. Hello. Hell Plague. 2 to fire skills. Fire damage, poison damage, mana, and lifesteal. Delicious. Soul crack. That's usually what happens when a soul bends over. They got a soul crack. Now, what I've noticed is there's a large amount of toxicity because of these pseudo-professional gamers. They'll get to a point and they're like, oh, you know, oh, you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and oh, and then they get all high and mighty thinking they're better than everyone else because, well, they're better than you. And so they take this, you know, this high and mighty approach. And what it's... Wow, I'm just finding all the stuff, aren't I? Vidala's Barb. What's that have Vidala's Fetlock? No. Vidala's Snare. Where do I have Vidala's Snare? Put that there. So I have Vidala's Snare somewhere. I have Sanders Ripper. Maybe I have it back in... No, I have Saigon's Boots. Where do I have Vidala's Snare? Anyway. These people get this high and mighty, you know, idealistic view of themselves because, well, they did better than you. So they make themselves an authority at the game, and then what happens? They end up becoming toxic, and it pushes people away from the game. It serves zero purpose, except lowers the amount of people playing the game. And then they wonder why they're getting the same lobbies over and over again. Well, your toxicity has pushed everyone out of the game. Now, of course, people would say, well, wait a minute. You know, they're trying to curtail that with these social contracts. These social contracts, you know? You sign a social contract saying you're going to be a good, you know, good player. You're not going to be, you know, this, that, and the other thing. Okay? Well, what that's doing is that's being socially restrictive, right? Because now you're not allowed to say anything. Because let's say the guy says, "Well, you need to go back and learn how to play, etc." Yeah, is that being mean spirited? Sure, yeah, but you can't take away his ability to say you need to go learn to play. But at the same time, it's creating this weird social dynamic that these people that sign the social contract, they'll say something to get the other person riled up, and once that other person's riled up and that person lashes out, they report them for language and get them banned. So what they're doing is they're creating a vacuum. And by creating that vacuum, it's causing player metrics to fall almost across the board. I know it doesn't seem like it is, but trust me. It does indeed kill player metrics. Because, you know, here you have a guy or girl trying to play the game, trying to get better at it, and then all of a sudden you have somebody coming along and saying, oh, well, you know, you're a dumpster, quit playing, so on and so forth. The other person lashes out, and now you have one person now gets basically banned because somebody else said something they didn't agree with. Social contracts serve only to restrict games. So they need to get social contracts. They need to get social contracts out of games because it's nothing more than an absolute festering pustule that's ruining games. And they need to stop with the whole, you know, like, oh, hey, you could be this good player in esports. Just stop. Stop. Because what it's doing is it kills your player metrics. Right? So, like, if you're playing a game where for example, let me try to think of an example here. Like League of Legends, right? You're playing something akin to League of Legends, and people tell you you suck at playing mid, so on and so forth, and obviously a lot of people take that personally because they're just like, you know, oh hey, they didn't play very well, and some people do play it, do take it personally. Instead of a social contract, what they need is they need to have a thing that pops up in the beginning of the game before anything happens, right after you install it, before you can get into the options, etc. It should pop up a thing that says, not everyone learns at the same rate. Not everyone can play at the same level. Be considerate of skill gaps. You were new once as well. Something along those lines. Not necessarily a social contract, but more of like a PSA saying, hey, you were a noob once too, pal. Cool your jets. Something along those lines. Have the actual game admonish a player for being a complete wad, right? And after it does that, then you can get into the game and play it and learn how to play. And having a comprehensive tutorial is also very helpful. And I mean, like, a complete comprehensive tutorial. Because there's a lot of games where the tutorials are not... They don't help you at all. Like, there's no actual... Like, I haven't played Marvel Rivals, so I don't know if there's a tutorial or not, right? But I know of Marvel Rivals, and I'm going to use that as an example. It'd be like in Marvel Rivals, if you start up the game and it just says, choose your character, get in there and play. It gives you no heads up, tells you nothing, informs you of nothing, tells you nothing about your roles or what you're supposed to do. Kind of like how League of Legends is. They don't actually inform you what you do. They'll say, oh, well, you're an attack damage carry. Okay, what's a carry? Right? What's the terminology? What is it supposed to do? These players are ill-informed when they jump in. And then, of course, they're made to look like a fool because they're ill-informed. And that's the developer's fault. But it's also the players aren't... There's no players that are willing to sit down and teach them and say, this is why you build this way, this is why you build that way, and so on. Like, you don't have that player camaraderie anymore. And it's all spawned from this whole factor of people trying to make the esports and trying to be professional. That's it. That's what happened. Everybody relishes themselves as a pro player, and now they've got a superiority complex. It's like the anime, the Irregular at Magic High. If you've never seen it, I totally recommend you watch it. But basically, in the Irregular at Magic High, you have what are called blooms and weeds. Now, the blooms are the, first course students that are incredibly skilled and talented. The weeds are second course students who don't have the skills and the processing speed mentally to cast magic effectively. And so now now a rift is created between the blooms who have this superiority complex and then the weeds who sit there and wallow in their own inferiority. And it creates a rift. That's what you have in games. And I've got the perfect example to kind of exemplify that. Earlier today, I sat down and I thought, I'm going to play World of Warcraft Cataclysm Classic. So, I got on my hunter, who was just geared enough to get into the new end time dungeon. Like, he met the gear requirements to make the end time dungeon. And so I was like, okay. That hurt. I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go into the end time dungeon. We meet the requirements. Why not, right? Spicy. I said, okay, well, we meet the requirements to go into end time. Let's do it. And so I went into the end time dungeon. I get into a group. Now, mind you, I have done the end time dungeons before. And when I say I've done the end time dungeons before, I mean, I legitimately have done them before. Ow. Hate that lightning attack. So I knew what I was doing when it came to, like, Bane Bloodhoof, when it came to Sylvanas. We killed Bane, right? The tank decided to go all the way across during Bane, and he didn't pull any of the trash except for one pack. And I'm like, we're going to die when we come back across to go use the transit device, right? I knew it. So I was like, well, that's no good, right? During the Bane encounter, 2 of our party members died because they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't understand the mechanics of the fight, and so they died. And I'm sitting there going, okay, whatever. I was one of the last ones up alive, and I killed Bane. No big deal. Me and the other guy killed Bane. And as soon as Bane died, we came back across the Lake of Fire, right? And when we came back across the Lake of Fire, what happened was my other party members, the tank died and somebody else died, and then we all wiped. And it's like, this is what you got for not clearing. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not saying it, but that's what I'm thinking. It's like, you should have cleared. Fast forward, we go into Sylvanas. Now, I know the Sylvanas encounter. Halfway through the encounter, she summons, well, not halfway through, but partway through the encounter, she summons a ring of ghouls. You have to target one ghoul, DPS it all the way down, and kill it. We get the ghoul killed, and there's Vidal's snare. I wonder what that does with the 2-piece. Let me figure that out for you in a second. Anyway, we go to kill the one ghoul, and we don't have enough DPS to kill it. Okay, fine. Happens a lot. You know, your DPS will fall short. It's inevitable. So, we end up wiping. The druid leaves. We wait. We get a new tank. No problem. We got ourselves a new tank. We got this. Mind you, my hunter is pulling 13.5k DPS. Isn't the best, isn't the worst. The Ret Paladin was pulling 18.5, 19k DPS. Fair. Better than me. The DK tank was pulling roughly the same DPS as me. Which, for a DK tank, is about bog standard. They're pretty good at doing damage. And so he was pulling the same amount of DPS I was. After the second wipe, I'm going to find out what this does with the 2-piece. Attack rating, mana stolen, and more attack rating. That's kind of poo. Better magic find. Alright. I mean, it is kind of poo. So I'll just put it in the bank. So anyhow, second wipe happens. I get kicked. They kick me. There was a Frost DK that was in the group with me that was doing less DPS than me. And they kick me. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did I miss something? And it's this sense of elitism that exists in games. And I cannot stomach that level of elitism. They give you these elitist people that think, well, they have to be doing this and they have to have the absolute best gear. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere. Blah, blah, blah. And they get this high and mighty approach and they look down on everyone. And it's like, that has to stop. That has to stop, full stop. As it ruins the fun for other people, right? I'm in there to get better gear than I have. I made the gear level requirement. I'm allowed to be there because my gear says I can be there, right? But no. And this is not the case on just WoW. This is the case across the board. This is happening all over the place. It happens in all aspects of WoW. It happens in all these other games. I guarantee you it happens in Marvel Rivals. I guarantee you it happens in every single game. And all it does is it drives people away. It happened in Season of Discovery. Okay? Season of Discovery, which was... let me tell you right now. If you've never played World of Warcraft, give it a shot. If you have played World of Warcraft, and you think, okay, it's not really for me, I don't really care for Classic, try Season of Discovery. It's a whole lot of fun. I was on my Shaman, who at the time was... I had the runes for tanking. I had all 3 runes I needed to tank at the time. I was level 15, 16, and I wanted to run Ragefire Chasm. Now, mind you, Ragefire Chasm's not a difficult dungeon. I mean, you know, it doesn't take a genius to run it. You can fall off a log and beat it. It's easy. It's like one of the easiest dungeons in the game. I went up there and I was like, oh man, I can tank Ragefire Chasm for you. Not a problem. Just, send me an invite. And he was looking for a tank. And I said, yeah, man, shoot me an invite. He's like, well, come to the instance portal. Okay, went to the instance portal right in Orgrimmar. And as I got there, he looked my entire gear over. And he says to me, your gear score is not good enough. You're not wearing best in slot. We're not taking you. I'm not wearing best in slot for Ragefire Chasm. I'm sorry. That doesn't track right in my mind. And I was like, but I have all the runes I need, and it's not like the dungeon is hard. He's like, sorry, dude. You need best in slot. Really? This type of cherry-picking elitism needs to stop in all games. Period. It's just pathetic. It's beyond pathetic. I mean... So, nevertheless... And everybody's gone that way. Like, all guilds have gone that way. And it's like, instead of, a guild saying, you know what? It's time for some fun. Bring along you and your friends. And come play this. Come play along with us. Flasks not required. Food buffs not required. Raid buffs not required. The game's meant for fun. And we're going to have fun playing it. If we die, we die. Have a good time. That kind of thing. That's exactly how I've always done it. Well, this leads me to Ashes of Creation. Well, first off, before I segue into Ashes of Creation, I do want to mention that what killed World of Warcraft was 3 things. And that was gear score. Gear score was number 1. Number 2 was parsing. And number 3 was DPS meters. Those 3 things killed World of Warcraft almost dead in the water. And in fact, it's so sad now. The numbers are so sad now. You can go to ironforge.pro. It's a website that uses an add-on, and it tracks the metrics of people who sign on and play. Who sign on in PvP, or who sign on and do raid. Weekly raid or weekly PvP. Both of which are logged in what are called Warcraft logs. These are the same people that upload parsing and parse data to the thing, and it gives them a rough player count. Okay. Well, rough player count in Cataclysm is, last I knew, was 109,000. Rough player count in both Season of Discovery and the Anniversary realms of World of Warcraft were about 109,000 total. Now, there's probably overlap where people that are playing Season of Discovery are also playing Anniversary. I know I do. But I don't raid or PvP every week, so that doesn't count toward the metrics. Same way with Classic. I don't do that. I don't do either of those on Classic either, so that doesn't count toward the metrics. Which brings us to the new thing. They don't show retail metrics. Why is that? Seems a little weird that they wouldn't show retail metrics. Or that there's not a mod for retail metrics. Almost like they want to hide it. And who wouldn't want to? You're essentially burying a turd. But I digress. It all started once DPS meters came out. Because then from the DPS meters came the need to parse, the need to do better, the need to up your play. Oh, I need to be the best player with the best gear. Putting up the highest DPS numbers to stroke my ego more. That's what killed it. So moving on to Ashes of Creation. How is this different? I have not played Ashes of Creation. I would love to. Don't get me wrong. I would love to get in there and play it. But it's not worth paying the price in the alpha. Which is expensive. Don't get me wrong, I would love to support them. I would love to support them in their entire endeavor. But I cannot justify the $110 into a game that's in alpha. Even though it's coming along brilliantly, I cannot justify that for an alpha when the box price that I've heard is $0. So, knowing this, it begs the question. How are they going to be different? Probably shouldn't have sold that. I'll buy that back. Wait, I can put that into an item and I can get into it quicker. How are they going to balance the game and not have the same thing that World of Warcraft has, which is that elitist attitude? Simply put, they've figured a way around it. And that's by making all the classes have to work together for group cohesion. Thor did a video on this, on Ashes of Creation. And how it's about group cohesion that makes the groups go and be able to DPS the bosses, and be able to actually do the content. There's a lot of people out there that don't like Thor. I do. There's a lot of brouhaha about it. But what I saw in Ashes of Creation shows that there is hope for MMOs and for quashing all of that elitist garbage. Because it's a social sandbox MMO. It's kind of like EVE Online. And in EVE Online, if you're one of those elitist douchebags, guess what? The rest of the players can say, this guy's a putz. I don't like him. And they do that. Happened once in EVE, or at least once in EVE, when I used to play EVE back in the day. They had a thing, and it showed the character's portrait, the in-game portrait, and underneath it, in their little news blurb, it said the most punchable face in the galaxy. So right there, somebody ran an advertisement that didn't like the guy. So, hey, they can handle it. I need to see if I can get myself a 4-socketed pole arm for the mercenary. Nope. I need a default pole arm and a good one. So I think I have the runes. No, I don't. So I have Tyr, Tal, and Thol. I don't have the Om rune. I need Om, Tyr, Tal, Thol, I believe. Matter of fact, let me double check that. Insight. Polearm. Insight rune word. Ral, Tyr, Tal, Soul. I was wrong. I don't have that either, so not much of a shock there. But I do have the Ral, Tyr, Tal, but I don't have a Soul rune. I need a Soul rune and a 4-socketed polearm. So disregard, everybody. I thought I could get one. But Ashes of Creation is gonna... I mean, when it finally comes out, it's gonna be... I think it's gonna be a smash. I really do. I really think it's gonna be blowing away the box office, so to speak. It has that look, and it has that feel. The fact that you can multi-class. Now, one of the things I want to ask about Ashes of Creation, and I haven't been able to find a definitive answer yet, but then again, I haven't really looked that deep, is can you respec your complete specializations? For example, if you choose fighter and then you realize I don't want to be a fighter and I want to be a ranger or a rogue, and you change to the other class. If so, you won't really have to make an alt and play a secondary character. If not, you're going to have people playing secondary characters, obviously, because they're going to want to experience all of the content or all of the classes, which is fine. But it's a slow game, and it's meant to be a slow burn game. It's meant to be one of those types of games where you can it takes a while to get to max level, it takes a while to do things, but it's worth it because it's about being in a social sandbox and being more sociable. Now, let me tell you right now, if I end up on a server where other people want to, join, I am going to make a guild or federation or whatever they're called. I mean, I should call it, a syndicate, because that's gonna kind of be what it is. What we're gonna do is I'm going to try to be a specific type of thing in the game, which is I'm going to try to be an arms dealer, where I create weaponry and I sell it to pretty much everybody. Now, if anybody, if it gets closer to that day when the game comes out, I will let everybody know. And if you're interested in playing some Ashes of Creation, let me know. I'll be your Huckleberry. I don't have a problem with it. And people would be like, "Well, wait a minute. You're gonna open it up so that people could come play with a content creator?" Yeah. I mean, when I did my streaming back in the day, somebody wanted to play Farlight 82 with me, or Farlight 87, or whatever it's called. Farlight 78. I can't even remember what it was called. It's called Farlight, anyway. They wanted to play with me. I was like, okay, cool. I didn't have a problem. I'd play with anybody. Played Minecraft with people. Didn't matter. I had my own world where it was all, it was all done in survival on hard difficulty, and I build colossal structures. I focus on building colossal structures. Reminds me, though, I should probably go and build a new world on there and Build some more colossal structures. Man, being a paladin right now sucks. I can't kill any of these demons without having to be on top of them. I have no way of really handling it. Thorns doesn't work on them. But hey, we're working our way through here, and I'll be calling it an evening here on this paladin in a second. So, ooh, wait, there's a halberd. Ooh. All I need is a Sol rune. A Sol rune, that's it.
What do you need?
You know what? What I need? No, I don't want to sell the halberd, you fool. Socket that halberd. 4 sockets? Yes. So 4 sockets. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to organize this so that I don't accidentally put stuff in it. There. We will create a blockade of the game of barricades. There we go. So now I have the 4-socketed halberd, and now I just got to get that Sol rune. As soon as I get, Better Call Saul. As soon as I get that Sol rune, I'll be able to, I'll be better equipped, because it gives him insight, which gives him meditation, which gives not just mana back to me and him, not that he needs mana, but it gives mana to both of us, but it also improves prayer. So his prayer aura gets a bonus by virtue of me having the meditation aura on him. But that's going to do it for me on this one. Things to look forward to. Number 1, Monster Hunter. It is coming out in less than a calendar week. I did secure the funds. I did get the funds for Monster Hunter, so keep your eyes peeled for some Monster Hunter Wilds shenanigans. I love that game dearly. So I'm going to play it a lot. So be prepared. For those of you that don't have Monster Hunter, jump on in. Let me know. And if you get your Monster Hunter ID and I'm online, come join the fun, right? You can always just leave it in a comment below your Monster Hunter ID, and I'm there. That's number 1 thing to look out for. Number 2, I will be making more Call of Duty content. Number 3, I will be making more Hearthstone content, especially with the new patch coming up in March 25th. I'm going to be tinkering around with the new decks. I'm not one of those Hearthstone whales, so I try to do as much free to play as possible. I do earn enough to make enough money to buy the mini set every time. I earn 2,000 gold or 2,500 or whatever to buy the mini set, because that's a great equalizer. And 4 or 3. We're also going to watch for Ashes of Creation. If Ashes of Creation does come out, expect that to be on the channel too. I have really nothing else to say other than I greatly appreciate the views the channel's been getting. I greatly appreciate the interaction that I get in the comment section. That's what means most to me. It's not the likes. It's not the subscribers. Those are great, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the comments, right? The comments allow me to get direction. The comments allow me to interact. The comments allow me to get inspiration. So that's why I like the comments, right? And I respond to all the comments when I find them and I see them, and I can respond to them until it becomes an overwhelming tidal wave, at which point I will respond to as many as I possibly can. Pardon me. And that hiccup. Oof. But those are the 3 things to look out for. I hope you had a wonderful time. I know I did. And I think all of us together can put a stop to the toxicity in games. And people say, well, they mean what's toxicity? I'm saying gatekeeping toxicity, where you're preventing people from playing the game because you push them out, either by a vote kick or whatever. You push them out of the game. It's just like, no, get out of my game because you're not good enough. That needs to stop, right? Don't vote kick people. Understand that everybody's got a learning curve. If you want to sit there and trash talk all you want, right? I don't care about trash talk. I used to do it. I had trash talk come in, and I had people trash talking me all the time. Whatever. That doesn't bother me. But this, I vote kick you from the game because you don't meet X requirement. Stop being a gatekeeper. That's it. Just stop gatekeeping. That toxic gatekeeping ends, and it's up to the game players that play these games to end it. But I hope you had a wonderful time, so I know I did. I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.